We're going to go right into our focus on Shelton today, which is presented by our great friends at our Community Credit Union. Captain Fiola is here. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning,
Good
guys.
to see you. Saw you at the parade.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And another great time. A couple big things happening as we get ready to wrap up 2019 in the Shelton Police Department. There's been a lot of great additions to the police department, in addition to a new logo package. You got your new badges that you guys all worked on together, and the accreditation, and it's been a great year.
Yeah, 2019 is one for the record books. A lot of good teamwork. Like you said, accreditation. That's a tribute to all the police officers down there, making sure that all our standards were met. So very proud of the police department for getting that accreditation. We've been in service since 1923, and we've never been accredited through WASPIC. So this was a huge challenge, and they stepped up to it. So I was excited.
So we've talked with the sheriff's office because they too are accredited, and to have both law enforcement entities in the county be that accredited, it's pretty amazing. It's an annual thing, right? So you guys are back to working next year, or is it?
So it's annual to a degree. So there's standards that you have to meet every year, and you have to record those. But every 4 years, the governing board from WASPIC comes down and physically inspects the police department to make sure that all those standards that we say we meet, that we're doing it, we're walking the walk, talking the talk, etc. And you hit on a good point. I think that it says a lot about our law enforcement in Mason County that 2 of the main agencies are accredited. I think that in the state there's less than 30% that take on this challenge to be accredited. So, it's a sticker on our car, but it means a little bit more than that to us. And we're really proud of the sheriff's office for being accredited as well. It's not an easy task. No. And the more employees you have, the harder it is. So, and they're a bigger agency than us, so hats off to them as well.
And then the other thing, and I believe Under Sheriff Adams mentioned this, but you guys both came away with, when you got your awards, there was no extra conversations. I don't remember quite what that phrase was.
Yeah, so there's over 100 standards that you have to meet, and there's a governing board of police chiefs, past police chiefs and sheriffs, and if you don't meet one of those standards, you have to go up in front of this council and basically explain why hey, this is how I'm going to fix it, etc. And a lot of agencies, it's hard to keep up with these standards, and some of them, if they didn't get it, they have to try to be like, hey, can you give us a second chance? Let us fix this. Because if you don't get it, you're not accredited for the next, you have to wait a year. You sit out for a year. So that's what the under sheriff was talking about was, so we had clean
sheets or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which it says a lot about, the men and women that both work for both agencies, that they get the job done. And that's in addition to answering, the thousands of calls that we take a year. So hats off to them.
So we saw you guys at the parade, and it's always a fun time to be representing the police department in the parade, but at the same time, only so many folks can be physically going up and down the parade route in the parade with the sirens and things like that. There's a lot more law enforcement walking up and down the streets, making sure all of our citizens who are Shelton residents or come in to watch these parades are safe. And this is kind of one thing you want to talk about here, a proposed Cadet Program to begin in 2020. What do you got for me?
Yeah, so we're kind of just piggybacking off of our reserve program. Since Chief Moody came over, we made the reserve program a priority. We've had reserve academies since then. So we're up to, I believe, 7 reserve officers, which are, they go through a augmented police academy. They get certified by the state, and then they volunteer. And those are the men and women you saw at the parade, walking down the streets to make sure everybody was safe. So what we're going to do now is succession planning. So basically, we want to make sure there's police officers when we're not there.
Sure.
And there's a lot of kids that are interested in law enforcement, and unfortunately, you can't become a police officer until you're 21. Yeah. So they don't really have the option to really learn about it, other than just kind of doing a ride along.
Oh, why is that? Because isn't a State Patrol 18?
I think State Patrol is 19. I'm not sure. There's WACs and RCWs, but mainly has to do with carrying a pistol.
Okay.
Being 21 years old for that. So, in our state anyway. Yeah. Now that being said, so the cadet program would be very simple. It's kind of like the Boy Scouts, but for high school age kids that are interested in law enforcement. They obviously go through a background investigation to make sure that they're suited for this position, and then they would do things like helping around the office, doing ride-alongs, helping out at parades, learning traffic control, learning the ins and outs of police work without really putting them in harm's way, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
That makes sense. I was wondering because I saw some of them. I go, they have such baby faces, but they are younger.
Yeah, those were real cops. Yeah. Actually, they are babies, I swear. So they really are. No, those were actual real cops, and they're just really, really young.
Yeah.
So, but I was that age once, and I had hair, so I remember those days.
Mike,
yeah, I remember those days.
So these are great programs here, and I can only imagine, as I'm thinking about the makeup over at the high school, Shelton High School, and we've talked about this often, one of the largest groups there is NJROTC, which has, as we know, a bit of a military bent to it. I mean, it's the NJROTC. So you would think that a lot of those kids perhaps would look to this as another great thing to add to their resume, or to kind of get an idea of if they want to move in the military or stick towards the law enforcement path.
Exactly, and that's a great program at the high school they offer, and it gives those kids that really want that structure, the militaristic type structure, what they're looking for. And this you hit it on the head with the resume building. So when you're applying for colleges, they want to see what you're doing to provide back to the community. And this is another volunteering program where they are having interactions with the community. They're giving back. They're helping out with Shop with a Cop. They're going to local events, helping the citizens however they can, and they're learning the trade. So I think that it's a win-win for both of us. They get the opportunity to see and potentially maybe be future employees with the Shelton Police Department, or they might come into it and get I watched TV and I thought that's what police work was, and this is clearly not what it is. So I bid you adieu. It just depends.
And you would hope and assume that if someone's going to want to do this, to put forth the effort to fill out the application or whatever, they would be fully invested in this, knowing that it's a volunteer, but they may show up quite often, and you may find yourself some great, as you mentioned, office help or grade help or something like that.
Yeah, and what we plan to do is they have like summer academies where these kids get to go to a summer camp, and they work on building searches and high-risk vehicle stops and all the things that law enforcement does, but they can't do yet. Right. But they get to practice it. They get to give it a shot. They get to have opportunities to work with the K-9. So if it's something you're interested in law enforcement as a job, this is a great opportunity to get your feet wet. It's free, and it's just our way of partnering with the community, but also giving them the opportunity to look at law enforcement as a whole.
How are they going to be able to do this? When do we get to start seeing some of this?
So this was Chief Moody's idea, and I know that Officer Lawson was working on it with him. I anticipate this kicking off early 2020 with application requests.
I'm almost confused with Officer Lawson.
Why is that?
Because he shaved
he shaved his head. That's right.
His beard.
Okay, yeah. No, I saw he walked in the office yesterday.
That?
He did. I saw him drive in, and he walked in the office, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, totally!" I've only seen him with beards.
I know.
So it was crazy.
That was a great thing did for Cameron.
Yeah, and great job for everybody: the fire guys, the police guys, the guys that cut the hair. I mean, great job.
Yeah.
What a way to that speaks volumes to the city of Shelton. That is what our community is about.
Oh yeah.
So I think what people want to think about Shelton, but those are the kinds of things that set our pace.
And that nearly $8,000 that was raised, that was before the Domino's fundraiser too, and the 30% of those proceeds went to that as well.
And I heard that Domino's, Caleb was saying that Domino's fundraiser was off the hook because they were getting massive amounts of orders.
I believe
phone wouldn't stop ringing.
Yeah, and I think that's what defines the character of Shelton.
Sure.
Every community is going to have its problems. Every community is going to have its issues. Every community is going to have homelessness and whatever the case may be. But when crap hits the fan, the people of Shelton step up, and they take care of each other, and that's why I've been very proud to work for this department since 2002. So, very proud of this.
You guys have been working really hard over these last couple of years, and really kicked it into high gear since you've become captain and since Moody's come on. We'll talk about this program, but what else are you guys looking at for 2020? I mean, what are some additional ways that you guys are going to push the envelope to be a great police force?
Yeah, I think as a leader of a police department or administrator, if you're not moving the speed up, or if you're not keeping it going, you get stagnant, and that's when bad things happen.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue with our high speed pace of training. We're going to keep up with that. So we have the cadet program showing up. We have another reserve going into Reserve Academy in January. We're going to be sending another canine handler to get trained for another canine in spring. Keep up with our accreditation, and we're also going to be working, taking on this homeless problem.
Sure.
And the city's, I think they're hiring a male or a female to come and be a homeless coordinator.
Yeah.
We're going to work hand in hand with them. We're going to continue with our code enforcement, animal control, and we're just going to keep pushing the envelope and just making things happen.
Good.
So, yeah, things are good.
Well, it's always good to see you, Mike.
Good seeing you too, guys.
And 841 at I-Fiber 1, the Focus on Shelton, presented by our great folks at Our Community Credit Union. We'll take a break and come back after this.